do it.
May I see if I understand this? You could, although you cannot now, tell us how closely related we are genetically to Tonkinese, Singaporeans, Bombays, Koroks, and any other Asian breed there is, right? So that could help us in selecting a breed to outcross to.
Yes, already I can do most all of that. I can tell you how related you are to other breeds, except for the Tonkinese and the Bombay, because they weren't in the project. But you know, I can kind of predict they're going to be close by, you know.
But of all those different related breeds, I hope that you guys can send in swabs. We plan to.
Yeah.
And Korok people send in swabs.
Koroks, yeah, Koroks already covered the world for us.
You guys probably have saved all the Koroks.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
we need today's present breeding animals. You just said that.
Yeah, we do want today's breeding animals and stuff as well. But that doesn't mean we throw all this data away. I'm not saying we throw this all away, but just to be cautious, yeah.
Does that mean I can't neuter my Korok boy?
That's correct.
They might need it. they might be. So, you know, it sounds like Donna wants to play with Koroks, but, you know, I don't know, so this person over here doesn't, you know, so that's okay. You know, that's okay. But in the end, you know, your first generation or two might have to be done in your house until you get a cat that is acceptable for the rest of the Burmese world to start breeding to. And I know there's going to be some cats hanging around, so, yep.
Could I send you buccal swabs of my Korok male, and you can use them in comparison to the
Yeah, absolutely.
that you have?
Yes.
It may turn out that he would be a good match genetically.
Yeah, right. There'd be no reason to think he would fit outside the whole Karat kind of pool, you know, but, right.
Swab them both sides of the Q-tip. Paper envelope.
Right. Paper envelope.
Seal the paper envelope.
Well, let's, you know.
Water.
Yeah. So maybe two, so when we think swabs, we're thinking generally Q-tips, right?
Right.
Q-tips have two ends. Try to do both ends. Sometimes people send us swabs and did one end and we don't know which end was right, you know. So that's happened, you know. So when I say take good swabs to do things like that, you get it right under the whisker pad. You don't stick it back in the throat. You're not supposed to be doing the palate up here. But you know what? That'll work if that's you know, I've had cats just like, you know, gnaw on it, and guess what? There's DNA on there, right? You know. So. And then Q-tips are easy, you know, why not do 3? You know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But, you know, make sure they're good ones. There's no point of me saying do 3 and the first one was good and then the last 2 are crappy, you know, so.
Does it matter if they're plastic Q-tips or wood?
I don't think the one time we've ever had a problem is someone did Q-tips from Target. And they're really tightly wound. The cotton is really, really tightly wound. And even the Johnson & Johnson ones that are antibacterial, those are antimicrobial, those are okay as well. So we have found that some of the off-brand, so I ought to get, it's not Johnson & Johnson anymore, who is it? I ought to get them to sponsor our swabs or something like that. But yeah, but just, you know, go get some Q-tips, you know, just Q-tip brand Q-tips, the 500 at a time thing, you know. All right.
Paper envelope.
Paper envelope, not plastic. Thank you very much. Paper envelope, not plastic. And don't forget your pedigree, who you are, why you're sending this. Often I'll get samples and there they are. I'm like, I had an email with you a month ago, and guess what? I have your email address, but I don't have your name is Mary. You know, stuff like that. So.
But all the bit about the Q-tips and the envelopes, it's all on you guys' website. Okay, it's clear because
What about swabbing newborns?
You know, we just had one of our students try to do the test of, will you get maternal contamination from a kitten? I'm not sure how well that project went, but But we don't have good evidence, we don't have much evidence that there's ever going to be maternal contamination. So as soon as you can get a kitten,
Placenta or
as soon as you,
blood off the.
you can cut off, you could, you know, it's just going to be harder for us to process, all right, because a Q-tip's very easy to process. You can cut off the umbilical cord, all right, that would work. But, you know, a kitten, yes, you could do the palate of a kitten because it's hard to get underneath the little lip there and stuff. So you could do the palate and the tongue of a kitten. That's all going to put DNA on there and stuff. But
I'd just be cautious with nursing kittens, just to give you a bit of a perspective, because the amount of somatic cells from the queen, from her mammary gland, that is going to be highly variable from cat to cat.
right. We were trying to prove that, and we couldn't come up with contamination, but I don't know how good the student did it. All right, so. Right. But she didn't find any contamination, so yeah. And we made her sit there and unplug the kitten, you know, take it off and swab the kitten right there, you know. So that's as bad as you can get, right? When it's there, and plug it off. As it was nursing, we invaded the kitten, and we had to make sure that the mom had a different genetic type than the kitten, so that you could tell, right? You know, so we did that, but we even milked the mother, right? So we milked the mother, and we did the DNA profile of the milk as well. So right, and it matches the mother. Guess what? Yeah. Right. Yep.
Will you accept DNA or samples for the head deformity from other breeds?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That's why I think American Shorthair should be in this audience, and the Tonkinese and the Bombay and whoever have snuck in those little Burmese, Asians, all those guys should be thinking about this. Yeah.
Which is the test?
Yeah, well, you know, right now, most cat genetic tests at the VGL are $40 a piece. I think they have a combo pack right now going on for Burmese, but they just sat down and decided that themselves without me walking in and saying, okay, maybe you need these tests together. And so that's something we should discuss, is what tests should we try to package together? What is a decent cost for that? And if that cost is on the higher side, how can we possibly get it subsidized, right? Because right now this test right here is high because we didn't want a big onslaught of samples in. So right now it's at about $120 to do this cat ancestry test, right? So, but that also has all the coat colors in it as well, and the hair types and stuff. It doesn't have diseases in it because it's not as, it's more of a fun test, and it's not meant to be 99.9999% sure for a disease mutation. But maybe we can move towards that. So we have to think about what we really want to try to accomplish and what we can come up with a feasible price for. Because right now, only Davis can do this, hypokalemia, and the head defect. And that'll probably be true for a while. Eventually they'll be published and other labs will do it. But until we can get the papers written and all that vetted, peer reviewed and blah, 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 it'll still be probably a year from now.
What do they charge for PKD?
$40. Yep. Yep.
I was thinking 65.
I think they have a couple things combined. Yeah. Yep.
Cat ancestry test. I'm sorry, you just called it a fun test. If we were to do another Thai import, and we did the cat ancestry testing and another Thai import,
Yep.
would you be able to say with a lot of confidence that the cat was related to Burmese for registration purposes?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So like when you say
Yes.
fun test, you don't mean, you know.
Yes, this is definitely a game of statistics, all right? So, but when we're doing a disease mutation test, that's spot on, all right? So that's absolutely spot on, and that's the best we can possibly do. When you do these ancestry tests, just like the dog test, you have 150 different tests that you're doing, that you're combining the answers for to give you a statistical guess. So if 2 of those tests don't work, you don't go back and try to fix those 2 tests. Now you have 157 things to match to. That's going to be good enough, right? So that's why I say it's kind of more of a fun test than you would never want to do that with a disease mutation, right? Okay.
Should we use the same panel every time, or should it depend on what we're outcrossing to at the time? Should it be specific for the outcross, or just?
Yeah, you might have to consider the outcross, because if you're outcrossing to Singapore, you have to worry about pyruvate kinase deficiency, right? If you're outcrossing to Euro-Burmese, you worry about hypokalemia. But would you worry about hypokalemia in the Singapore? No, I don't think so. Yeah, so, or the Tonkinese, right. So it has to be a little, and so maybe we need some type of menu where you click some boxes or something like that, but we have to have good education so you know which boxes to click or something like, or a menu of here's the suggestions. If you're doing this, do this. If you're doing this.
Could you do the suggestions?
Yeah, absolutely. We could come up with the suggestions, but we need input from you guys as well. You know, this all has to be give and take, Fred.
Leslie, you've talked about a variety of things that need to be discussed among breeders and with you. Obviously, you can't do that with a whole room of people. Do you have an idea of a mechanism, a decision-making mechanism that would get the stakeholders together and also in contact with you?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that needs to come out of between us and really, you know, what's the best way to do that with the breed council secretaries? Probably that way. You know, it's easier to chat now with blogs and things like that, so it's easy. We could have an open forum where we're blogging back and forth and having some discussions. I have to say, when I saw the first discussions about Burmese, I was so frightened to open them and to read them that I was like, oh, I'm just going to put this for another day. I can't, you know, I'm traveling, I can't deal with this today, you know. And then I was so pleased to see that I think 9 out of 10 of them were all very positive discussions about how are we going to move forward. And there was some vetting of some issues in there, but then in the end of the last sentence would be, okay, time to move forward, let's go. So there's going to be some vetting of some old laundry and stuff like that, but let's get it out and move forward.
That's what needs to happen.
Yep. That's what needs to happen. So, yeah, we kind of have to figure out how to do those things, how to blog. I don't have a Facebook page. Do we need the Burmese Facebook thing or something? I don't know. Do we tweet? I don't tweet with one another. I don't know. Right. Yeah.
Just out of my own curiosity, maybe for everybody's benefit, could you start from the beginning of when you first got, just give us kind of a general timeline of how long it's taken?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So 1992 is when I moved, February of 92 is when I moved to the National Cancer Institute. I had never done any genetics on cats at that point in time. I was trained in human genetics. So the first group I ever got involved with, I was supposed to build the interspecies backcross, which when I picked up Cat Fancy magazine, I found out, well, that's Bengal cats, right? So one of the first groups I got involved with was Bengal cats. And then somewhere during maybe that year, maybe the next year, is when the Win Feline Foundation call came out. So it was an RFA. From the Burmese groups, and it got forwarded to me through Colorado, actually, Sue Vandervoot at Colorado. That's when I first wrote the first project, and Search Corps had already happened. So I acquired the published data, I acquired all the data from Search Corps, I acquired original information on the original cats that were bred, and my initial promise was to review the data, see whether I felt this was a recessive trait or not, or incomplete dominant. There was all that kind of fighting over that. And whether we think the Burmese, whether we could do genetics in Burmese.